Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. We're coming to you live from the Stoke Gifford Stadium, the home of Bristol City, who today host Manchester City. The home side come into this off the back of a heavy defeat to Arsenal in the Continental Cup in midweek, but they showed their resilience and spirit in their last Women's Super League game, coming from behind to draw 3-3 with Reading. As for Man City, after a sticky period, they seem to be back on track. 3 wins in a row, including 2 thumping wins over West Ham and Everton in the league and cup, and they are hot on the heels of the other title chasers. So let's have a look at the other games going on in the 7th round of the Barclays FA Women's Super League today. One game already underway. Manchester United leading Brighton Hove Albion by a 0-0. That one kicked off at noon. Lauren James with the goal for Manchester United. The other 12:30 kickoff sees Everton host Spurs. Later on, Arsenal aim to keep the pressure on league leaders Chelsea at home to bottom side Liverpool. Chelsea themselves are away to Birmingham, and the 3 o'clock game is West Ham United versus Reading. And here is the Women's Super League table. Chelsea, Manchester City and Arsenal make up the top 3. Only goal difference separates City and Arsenal. Everton are up to 4th after their win in the Merseyside derby last weekend. And in the bottom 3, Liverpool and Bristol City remain the only sides without a win so far this campaign. So Bristol City arriving on the right-hand side there. Abby Harrison ruled out for the season with an ACL injury. And they arrive here after a humbling at Meadow Park in midweek. They're yet to win in the Women's Super League this season. But last season, they proved a thorn in Manchester City's side, holding them to 2 draws, home and away. So ahead of kick-off at Stoke Gifford, let's hear from both managers Nick Cushing and Tanya Oxtoby have been speaking to Joe Bennett.
Tanya, you had a tough one in midweek, and the games don't get any easier, do they?
No, really tough 7 days for us. You know, Arsenal away was a difficult one. Loads of injuries and rotated the squad, and probably not the best performance from us, but we've got a chance to bounce back today.
How would you go about trying to stop this Man City side?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's been successful the last couple of days, have they? So, look, for us, it's about our performance. I think we need to be really solid without the ball, limit their opportunities through the central areas, and try and hurt them on the counter. So we'll give it a go and see what happens.
Got 2 draws against them last season, unbeaten against them, so your players do know they can go and get a result, don't they?
Yeah, don't jinx us, don't jinx us. Yeah, look, we performed really well last season, so it's about trying to replicate that, take some confidence from those performances and move forward.
Georgia Stanway back today. She obviously had an interesting game last time out, scored 2 but got sent off, but you don't want to take that side of her game away, do you?
No, I think we all know how competitive Georgia is. She plays with real enthusiasm, and a persistent foul in red card for her is maybe something that she needs to learn from, but she has to be competitive. She plays right on the edge, and that's why she scores so many goals and plays so well. So, and we're glad to have her back today, and although she's not starting the game, we know that she'll contribute today.
Nick Cushing and Tanya Oxtoby speaking ahead of kick-off today, and it's time to bring in Jane Ludlow, our co-commentator this afternoon. You've picked out our ones to watch for Bristol City. Frankie Brown, Jane.
Yeah, look, really experienced national team player for Scotland, and the interesting thing for Frankie this season is actually she's been pushed up a unit, so she's playing in midfield, or she has been in the game so far, which is fairly unusual as an older player. Usually as age catches up with you, you end up stepping back a unit, but you know, she's a known top-level defender who now has a new challenge. Now we see Jill Scott, obviously. Jill, what can I say about Jill? Lovely individual, lovely person. She deserves all the plaudits, playing at the top level of the game now for many years. Fantastic awareness, 360 awareness in central, areas of the park, and a major player for Man City for the past few years, and this season is no different. She's a tough competitor and somebody that Bristol, I'm sure, will be prepping certain areas to make sure they can win aerial balls, because her main strength is definitely aerial areas. But she's great with the ball at her feet too, so they're going to have to control and limit Jill's opportunities in and around that box today to be successful and pick up some points, Bristol.
Yes, it's going to be another tough afternoon for Bristol City off the back of that 7-0 defeat to Arsenal in midweek in the Continental Cup. It's out of the frying pan and into the fire for them, really, up against Manchester City, who are chasing Chelsea, who currently lead the Women's Super League table, but it's very, very tight at the top indeed. And as you can see from the attire from some of the crowd here, we are deep into winter territory, and lots of people wrapping up warm and making their way to the picturesque stadium at Stoke Gifford for this game between Bristol City and Manchester City. Bristol City up against Manchester City in the Women's Super League table. And Bristol City did cause a few problems for Man City last season. It was 2 draws, and actually they had a 2-goal lead in one of the games. Manchester City had to fight back to get a point. And Jane Ludlow, that ultimately, those 2 results, you could argue, cost them the title, because they only lost on the last day of the season against Arsenal when the title had already been won by Arsenal. They just drew too many games. It just shows you need to show a ruthless streak, don't you, if you're going to win the league?
Well, it also shows, I think, for Nick and his group of players, which he'll be well aware of, is having a kind of a plan B in a way. You know, when teams set up to defend and try and take a point from you, it's how you break those situations down, and there's varying ways to do it, depending on the skill set of the squad and the group you have. But it may be we see something different from Man City in that sense now today. Have they got a different game plan? Because I'm sure they're expecting to come up against a fairly low defensive block, and they have to break that down.
Well, Manchester City went 4 games without a win in all competitions. That run saw them exit the Champions League in the last 16. But since then, they've picked themselves up, and it's 3 in a row in all competitions, and an excellent win against West Ham United in the Women's Super League last weekend. They've been banging the goals, 9 in their last 2 games. They were also big winners in midweek against Everton in the Continental Cup. As we see the managers taking their places in the dugouts. Nick Cushing, such a long-serving manager now. He's been with them ever since they entered the Women's Super League in 2014. Just the 1 title to their name, though. In 2016, it's been Chelsea and then the re-emergence of Arsenal that has seen them drop out of the Championship title, but they have managed to finish in the top 2, though, in each of the last, well, since 2014. So they've had regular Champions League football. And Jane, coming into this, we heard from Tanya, didn't we, that they had a pretty heavy defeat in midweek against Arsenal. They've made a few changes, and Arsenal are obviously a real phenomenal side, aren't they? And it could be interesting to see how they pick themselves up from that.
Yeah, well, she has made some changes today. When you look at the squad that has been put out there in recent games now since the start of the season, there's a couple of changes. So the interesting thing for me is, does she stick with the back 4, or does she filter it into a back 5 to secure those areas around her box? But, you know, different players are having an opportunity. They've been forced into one change, obviously, with Harrison having that unfortunate ACL injury. But look, for me, these games, you know, if you're Tanya, then it's an opportunity. You know, I don't think they'll be looking at this negatively. They'll be looking at it as an opportunity to show what they can do and frustrate one of the top teams in the league.
Here they come, the 2 teams. Bristol City, the home side. A loyal crowd gathering at Stoke Gifford Stadium to see if they can pull off a shock result against Manchester City, one of the powerhouses of the women's game in recent years. Bristol City held Manchester City to 2 draws last season, but they haven't beaten them since the first season of the Women's Super League that Manchester City participated in 2014. So the handshakes taking place ahead of kick-off here at Stoke Gifford. Looks like a healthy crowd as well in the southwest of England. Here is the Bristol City team then. They came from behind to draw with Reading in their last Women's Super League game. Tanya Oxtoby makes 4 changes from that match. Matthews returns in defence. Daniels and Chance also come in. 17-year-old Katie Robinson starts her first ever Women's Super League game and leads the line. Manchester City make 1 change to the side that thrashed West Ham last weekend. Kira Walsh returns to league action after her 3-game ban. Georgia Stanway is named on the bench. She served her suspension in the Continental Cup win over Everton in midweek. Former Bristol City forward Lauren Hemp starts against her old side. So when you look at those two sides, Jane, I mean, there's not really any comparison. Bristol City, heavy underdogs today.
Yeah, they are. You know, let's be realistic about it. They are, but that doesn't mean they can't get a point, at least from this fixture. They are going to have to be disciplined in certain areas and defend certain parts of the pitch particularly well, and get a little bit of luck, I guess, along the way. But, you know, you look at the two squads, there's an immense amount of talent and experience in the one, and youthful enthusiasm in the other. You know, we said obviously they're leading the line with one of the youngest players in their squad today, Bristol, so hopefully she does well and rises to the challenge, but they are going to need some phenomenal performances if they are going to get 3 points.
And it will be a precious 3 points. 8 points would be pretty good for Bristol City, currently second from bottom going into this game. 3 points, all draws, yet to win. They won't be expected to pick up that win this afternoon, but you never know. Is that your Welsh international leading
I'm
the...
trying to lip read, because look, Lauren Dykes has been a fantastic servant to Welsh football. She's still playing, she's still a starting senior team player for us, but she's a leader, and what I've seen that in the last few years, how that's coming out more and more, and you can see that the communication she's given to a younger group then. I hope she has a good individual game, but I hope her leadership skills come to the fore as well when they're needed.
You can see she was leading the discussions there. Lucy Oliver, the referee this afternoon, thankfully has remembered her coin. The final preparations taking place, and we're nearly ready for kick-off. And Georgia Stanway on the bench this afternoon. She was available for selection. She has served her 1-match suspension. She had an interesting weekend last time out, scoring twice and then being sent off late on for 2 bookable offences. So we're just about to get underway here. And I don't usually give my opinions on kits, but unfortunately we are going to have to watch Manchester City in this monstrosity this afternoon. Not sure why they're in their change kit, to be honest. Bristol City in the reds, it's Manchester City who kick us off. In the yellow and pink kit for City. And I think, Jane, we are expecting Manchester City to have the lion's share of the possession. It's up to Bristol City to marshal them, isn't it?
It is, but what we're seeing straight from the off from Bristol is they're pressing fairly high. They're not dropping into their own half to defend. They are trying to win the ball back in the opposition half. Whether that's a good decision or not, we'll see as the game pans out.
Corner inside the first minute. Janine Becky coming forward. And her new right-back position, she's played there now 3 games running. And she's made the position her own, because they are slightly light in that area, Manchester City, usually playing further forward, but she's done well so far. Caroline Weir takes it short to the former Bristol City player Lauren Hemp. Weir delivers, and it's cleared away by Bristol City. Here is Tessa Willart. Scored last time out against West Ham United, as did Hemp, who delivers the corner kick. Easy for Sophie Bagley. Top young keeper, Bagley.
Yes, I'm sure she'll have to show that today, because you know, you'd put money on the fact that she's going to get tested fairly often, I'd imagine. But you're right, a young player who's developing particularly well.
Manchester United now lead 2-0 against Brighton Hove Albion. That was a 12 o'clock kick-off. Lauren James with the first, Leah Galton with the second. Her star continues to rise, an assist and a goal for Manchester United's winger. Here is Becky once again. It's an interesting setup, isn't it, down at Stoke Gifford? Now you have a lot of ties, relations, being the Welsh manager.
Yeah, well, over many years, we've enjoyed a good relationship, and lots of our strongest players who have grown up within Wales have ended up being part of the club at some point, whether we talk about the likes of Jess Fishlock, Tash Harding. We have less involved in the club these days. Those players have moved on to different areas, but we're very thankful for the development environment that's been in Bristol for many years, and hopefully that will continue.
Here is Becky. Walsh. Here is Scott. Bit of a heavy touch. Bristol City once again make the clearance. Sitting quite deep, Bristol City.
Yeah, that last passage of play was interesting because what they've got Daniels playing on the left wing for them, and she's actually dropping very deep at times to become a back five. So when your winger has that defensive responsibility, it allows your fullbacks to get a lot narrower and creates that extra number in the back line when needed.
Driving run from Lauren Hemp. She's got Demi Stokes making the run.
But we are generally looking at 2 banks of 4 right now, you know, defending just on the edge of their box, Bristol, and they've been there for a few minutes now.
Here is Daniels, wins the throw. Re-signed in the summer after a year away with Liverpool. Back at Bristol City, she rejoined with Jasmine Matthews as well, who made the same journey. Matthews wins the header. Brown tries to help it on. The forwards for Bristol City so far not getting a lot of change out of these defences. Those outballs have to be pretty perfect, don't they?
Yeah, because they are defending, obviously, their own half quite a lot right now. When they do manage to break, it is about trying to hit that target player for them. And right now, that's flipping between the youngster Robinson, 19, and number 11, Wellings, because they're the 2 players in this Bristol team right now who they have a defensive job to do, but they're not being asked to drop quite as deep as their midfield. So they're generally the target players. Whenever a red shirt does gain possession, they will be looking to hit those players as early as possible.
Willart wanted the corner, it wasn't forthcoming. Sort of university campus setup, isn't it?
Yeah, and we were speaking earlier off air with regards to Bristol as a team and how they've developed and the backing they've had for many years from the academy system that have brought through some great young players. I think it's changing slightly, you know, over the past 12 months. Their relationship has obviously changed in that sense. They're now far more involved with the men's club, Bristol City Men, which hopefully is a good thing for the future, and the backing for them to keep growing and developing, and hopefully still bring through that young talent and step them into the first team. But you know, there's 2 teams we're watching today with very different financial status. The quality of play that can come into those clubs because of those reasons will be vastly different at times. But that doesn't mean they can't compete. What they do need is, you know, obviously Tanya is a very organised manager. She's getting her team into a certain structure. We can see that today, and she's sensible with, you know, I'm guessing there'll be teams they come up against this year that they can definitely get 3 points and they'll play a certain way. There's other teams where they might have to drop a little bit deeper and protect their goal a bit more.
Everton have taken the lead in the other 12:30 kick-off against Spurs. Molly Pike with the goal there. That's a lovely ball from Steph Horton from the back. Hemp. It's good defending from Dykes, showing her away from goal. Here's Hemp once again. Now Caroline Weir finds Stokes. Can't quite keep it in.
Well, when you come up against the Manchester City side, they have threats all over the pitch, but one of their main threats is their central areas. You know, the players they have in there. We've spoken about Jill Scott briefly already today. Her ability, she does one heck of a job running into areas to create space for others. You know, at times she might not be getting those passes, but she's creating so much space for others around her. And the other midfielders, you know, Kira Walsh, who will be kind of the setter up of everything in a way, the build-up player for them. But no, it'll be interesting to see if this 4 unit as a midfield for Bristol manages to deal with that 3 in central areas, because you are looking at an overload at times. Central areas of the pitch.
Horton to Becky. Walsh.
Just an example here, obviously Wellings has dropped in to try and deal with Kira Walsh. But preference for Bristol will be that they stay slightly higher, so that when they pinch, Wellings, rather than picking up in these areas, she's another 20-30 yards up the pitch. She's done particularly well there.
Look how far up the pitch Frankie Brown is.
Yeah, she might be going up another unit by the end of today's game. Not a backline player anymore, or a midfielder.
The youngster Robinson wins the throw, making good territory, Bristol City. Robinson helps it back to Dykes. That's nice play. Humphrey. Lauren Hemp has just touched that out of play. It's going to be Bristol City corner.
Yeah, there was a moment there where I thought Lauren Dykes could have got it out of her feet and delivered, but actually it's worked out well for them anyway, and they've got a corner on the right-hand side.
I suspect these opportunities aren't going to come around too often for Bristol City. This has got to be good. And it's Carla Humphrey, the former Arsenal player, with the delivery. It's a good one. Headed away by Jill Scott. Daniels. Blocked by Ellen White, and another corner kick to Bristol.
Yeah, good lofted delivery there from Carla. At one point I thought he was up there a bit too long, but it was allowing her teammates to actually get a run onto the ball and attack it. Obviously the person who I think did head it away was Jill Scott, with the size difference she has against some of the others in red today.
Going to be another Humphrey delivery. Towards the near post this time. And set wide. A couple of good opportunities there. Flo Allen up from the back.
Interesting to see what stance they take with goal kicks. Oh, great. Look, they're going after him. High press. It's fab, you know, in a sense of the mindset is there. We're coming after you. But what it does do is expose space behind you, which we're seeing right now. Obviously, there's a lot of space behind the back line that could be used by Manchester City. And maybe used if they continue with that stance now as the game progresses. You know, teams will choose to do that if they, you know, you're coming up against one of the best teams in the league whose build-up play is very good. You know, the quality of player they have in possession of the ball, the receiving skills at top level, and they do build particularly well. So you can see why they're choosing to do this, to try and break at its source, stop the build-up play. But it is going to be physically quite challenging for those in red today.
Bonner onto Demi Stokes. Weir. Horton striding forward. Becky delivers.
Fantastic delivery. Really surprised Hemp didn't manage to get on the end of that. A little bit disorganised from a Bristol defensive unit set up here, and could we do better in wide areas to stop the source? Probably Allen could have been a bit better in the 1v1. Sargent's done enough, but she was lucky.
Yes, Hemp was lurking. Walsh, that's a lovely slide rule pass. Here's Woolart. Can't pick out Ellen White. Jill Scott was making the late run.
Yeah, poor detail from Willett there. We're not used to that, to be fair, because she's technically a very gifted individual, and that was a good opportunity. It was a good break in the first place, really good run in behind the back line. A bit flat-footed from the Bristol backline players, but nothing at the end of it, unfortunately, for the Man City players.
Walsh taking on the long-range shot. She scored in the Women's Super League from a similar distance against Birmingham. Worth an effort.
Well, Manchester City are managing to move the ball around the pitch very well. You know, they're coming up against this 4-4-2 setup. In the first instance, this defensive shape from Bristol, and what we're seeing, obviously the forwards are dropping fairly deep into their own half to try and help protect that midfield overload, but as we're seeing, we are there still managing to find space there. It's an area that's, you know, if you're a Bristol City fan right now, you hope that they tighten up a little bit, because that two central midfielder role, the two-man screen that they have in there right now, Brown and Chance, are going to have quite a bit of work to do today if they're going to deal with that three-man midfield of Manchester City, and they are going to need one of those forwards to drop in more often than not to help them in that area.
There's only one Abby Harrison. One Abby Harrison. There's only one.
The crowd singing the name of Abby Harrison, who has been struck down by an ACL injury. Had two of them in the women's game in the last week, along with Ellie Brazil of Brighton as well. It's becoming, well, it has been way too often in the women's game, and it doesn't seem to be letting up at all. We have so many of them every season. And Abby Harrison, the latest one for Bristol City. We won't be seeing her again this season.
And look, there's so much research out there with regards to ACLs and female athletes in general. I'm sure there's more research than since I was recently involved as a physio. It's are we prone to it in a way? Yes, and there's obviously lots of detail out there that highlights that, but are there good structures, good programs in place to try and prevent those instances happening? Yes. Does it come down to loading and management of player loading at times? Yes, but they're all, you know, they're a percentage part of why it happens. You know, sometimes it's tackles you can't do much about, but it is an unfortunate thing for female athletes. You know, we have to be mindful of it as coaches and make sure that the programs that are put in place do everything we can to restrict those things happening, because, you know, a year out of the game is tough for any player, whether you're young or old.
It is pretty much the worst injury that a footballer can get. You almost prefer a broken leg, don't you? Because that can heal.
The positive is, you know, the surgeons these days do one heck of a job, and the general, you know, consensus is if you do suffer it and you get decent surgery, then you'll be back. You know, that's the positive thing
Just
to think
as long
of.
as you say a long layoff.
It is a long one. You're missing, pretty much a whole season, and there's other things as players can work on within that time if they, you know, dedicated enough to do so and they're mentally strong enough to do so. But it is challenging for that individual.
Horton, as Manchester City continue to try and probe. It's a good touch by Ellen White to Scott, and now Vullart. White's made the run. The diving header couldn't quite connect.
Oh, I'd put money on Ellen finishing that, to be fair. What a great lofted pass to her. And I think, you know, I was impressed with the combination play just before it. They've managed to pick out space between the two units of Bristol, the backline unit and the midfield unit. That space, that pocket opened up, and Jill Scott used it particularly well. And obviously then Vullart, as we've mentioned earlier, great technician. And unfortunately, Ellen couldn't get on the end of it to get contact.
It's a great cross, wasn't it, from Tessa Vullart? There is Chance. Wellings manages to, well, I thought she'd managed to find a teammate.
Well, the challenge for Bristol today is when they are in possession of the ball in their own half, can they build? Can they manage to retain and create opportunities in the top end of the pitch? And it is going to be extremely challenging for them. But first and foremost, they have to defend well. You know, we're seeing now they're defending their own half. They've still got that 4-4-2 setup. This kind of becomes a 4-4-1-1. With one of their forwards dropping and trying to deal with Kira Walsh here. So obviously one of the key players in build-up play for Manchester City is Kira Walsh, so she has to be dealt with. But they're still managing to play through these two tight units of four of Bristol.
Very neat and tidy so far from Manchester City.
Really expansive game with regards to Manchester City right now. With, you know, the width that they use, and they are trying to spread the game, try and stretch these defensive units.
Good movement from Walsh. Another good cross in. The referee has stopped play. The offside flag was up. Well, Matthews' clearance closed down by Ellen White, and that is what you're going to get.
Yeah, that's what she does particularly well. You know, her defensive game as a centre forward, a top-level national team centre forward, is a strength of hers, and it's a great thing for the English national team, because to have, you know, your defensive unit working so well with that point player, you know she's going to put a shift in for you every single game. She's going to do as much without the ball as she does with the ball for your team.
And she's a example of a player who's had her fair share of injuries, but she just seems to keep coming back and looking like she's the same as ever, Ellen White.
Yeah, look, many years ago now when we were teammates at Arsenal, she back then she had a few injury issues to deal with, and she was out of the game for you know, spells of time, but she's a very strong mentally, you know, character-wise. She's a competitor, she's very driven, and you know, whenever she did suffer those setbacks, you know she was going to come back better and stronger.
Villard tripped off the ball, but Lucy Oliver, the referee, waves play on.
Fantastic touch. It comes down with snow on it, and it's like somebody's just, you know, dropped it a yard above her head. Fantastic touch by Weir there. It's a great example of how within the women's game now there's strong technicians coming through and being developed.
Manchester City possess a lot of them in this team. Daniels can't quite see it out of play. Becky's done well.
Good recovery from her, you know, she stayed committed to it. Could have done better in the 1v1 defensive situation to start, but stayed committed, and that's what they're going to need is, as a team today, lots of resilience, and in those 1v1 situations to be as strong as they possibly can.
We're poking it through to Ellen White, who did look offside. Daniels dispossessed. Here is Villard looking for options. Here is Scott. Hemp's made the run at the back post. Too much on it for her.
Details aren't quite right now for Manchester City. You know, they're getting into the top third quite frequently, but it's about the details on that final pass. You know, they could be a little bit better at times.
And there is the injured Abby Harrison in the middle there. We're watching brief from the gantry. Looks like she's enjoying a few treats. I'm sure she'll be worked hard, though, in her recovery from her ACL injury.
I'm sure it's nuts or something very healthy.
Not jelly babies.
I'm sure, no, I doubt very much.
Other sweets are available. Only 21 years old, Abby Harrison, so still a lot of football in her career, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we wish her well. You know, she will definitely come back from it, but frustrating time for her.
Good touch, and the first goal. Tessa Villard, 2-2 in the Women's Super League for her. Lovely cross, and that was a really well-taken goal.
Yeah, we were saying a minute earlier, you know, the detail of their passes, that final ball into the box needs to be better, and it was. This time it was fantastic, you know. Pinpoint delivery, good timing and movement in to connect, and a good finish, you know, placing it in the corner, the left-hand corner of the goalkeeper. And is it what Manchester City deserve? Yes.
In terms of the defending, over the head there of Megan Sargent.
Can they do better? Yes. Are they going to have to do better as this game progresses? Yes. Look, awareness of players moving around you, not ball watching, and then obviously committing to that 1v1 situation aerially. Hopefully it's something that Bristol can develop as this game goes on, because I'm sure there's going to be more opportunities where these things happen. They've had success once from getting deliveries in. I'm sure it'll be something that Manchester City try to do again.
Well, this already has put a different complexion on the game. Bristol City having to defend, and now they're going to have to come forward. Maybe not just yet, but at some point, Eddie Roebuck is going to have to be forced into some sort of save. They had a couple of corners earlier on. They need to make more of those opportunities.
Well, you know, from the outset, Tanya Oxtoby did mention in her interview, you know, areas they have to protect the central areas in their own half. They have to get numbers in there, and they have to do well in those situations. And they have for, you know, a big chunk of this first 20-odd minutes. But right now, look what we're seeing right now. That space is opening up. We've just seen Ellen White drop into that space between the two units and then play back to midfield, and they're still in possession of the ball. Or were. But again, they've got it back. Look, those areas, and the manager mentioned it herself, they have to be better in those areas, because this type of team are going to do you damage if they manage to get combination play in and around that, what coaches call that zone 14 area.
Manchester City want more. Becky seeing a lot of the ball on the right-hand side. The initial cross defended, but Becky's allowed to get back onto the second ball here. It's another good delivery. Ellen White straight into the block of Jasmine Matthews.
Yeah, and looking at the last phase of play, we're generally seeing now the wide players, the wingers of Bristol dropping and doing that fullback role, so that the fullback can get narrower, so that they can get that four protecting their goal first and foremost. So the physical challenge for those wide players, Daniels in particular, we've seen her doing it a lot so far. It's going to be a challenging game for them. Can you see them scoring right now? No, but we're only 20 minutes into the game, so things can change quite, you know, quickly in football. They get a few chances now in the top third of the pitch. Who knows?
Daniels wins the header. Gemma Bonner under pressure, concedes the throw. Allen with the throw. Receives it back from Charlie Wellings. Another throw-in for Bristol City. 20 years old, Flo Allen. Had her first WSL start of the season against Reading. It's like she's kept her place.
Yeah, look, if you're a young player, joining Bristol City is potentially a good thing. So you're going to get minutes, you're going to get time on the pitch, and for a young player developing, it's the most important thing. You know, you can learn from those around you, the players, the coaching staff, within the training environment. But the main thing that how I look at it, when you're on the pitch, you're going to learn so much more. You know, competing against these levels of players, top international players, you know, you're going to learn a heck of a lot from just this one game today.
Spurs have equalised against Everton, 1-1 there. Lucy Quinn. Good game down at Southport. Lauren Hemp coming forward, getting onto that loose ball. Everton have retaken the lead, 2-1 now. And that should be a good game to watch later on. The Women's Football Show on BBC 4, 7 o'clock. The highlights of every single game from the Women's Super League. From a Bristol City point of view, Jane, these games are not that fun to play in, are they?
It depends your mindset. Take me back to my playing days. I would have loved it. Absolutely loved it.
You were never on the...
Many years ago.
As an Arsenal player, you never played
No.
like
Many years ago. I wasn't always an Arsenal player. I was Southampton. I was Millwall for a short spell of time. I was Barrytown. So I was involved in those environments, and I used to absolutely love it. When I was a baby, we played Croydon, latter stages FA Cup, and I remember Hope Powell was up against me. That's how long ago it was. Sorry, Hope, but you were playing back then, and I think you done me quite a few times on the pitch. But they obviously beat us. But, you know, those moments I used to love as a player. I used to love it in training when the boss man used to put me in kind of the team with the youngsters against all our stars. I used to love it because it was just a competitive element. And I guess it's a tough challenge. And for me, if the mindset of the Bristol girls are right tonight and they're thinking of it like that, then they can get something from this game.
More defending to do here. Villart, lovely touch. Already got her first goal. Delivers. Becky. Allen with the block.
know, from a coaching staff, and you look at this, it's you know, when they get in their half time, it's looking at what's working, what's not. How can they create moments in the game that they can create goal and scoring opportunities? Because look, 90% of the time they're going to be defending today, and they have to protect their goal as a priority. But they still have to try and create those opportunities in the opposition half.
I haven't seen many of them from a Bristol City point of view. Here is the Manchester City corner. Well defended. Very close, aren't you, to the crowd in Stoke Gifford?
Yeah, and it can be a positive for you as a player to you know, have that emotional content from your supporters. And if you're the opponents at times, it can actually be a huge negative to have that vocal
support?
Well, yeah, maybe not support at times. We had some interesting environments we played in as an Arsenal group many years ago, which it used to be fair, used to drive us on, but in some ways it can be challenging too.
Chance battling for it. Has won the ball. Here's Charlie Wellings. Brown. Now Humphrey. A rare foray forward for Bristol City, and that is disappointing.
Those are the moments they have to really get the details right and protect the ball when they get into the opposition half. Protect the ball. If nothing else, get free kicks, you know, get set plays from it and create goal-scoring opportunities.
She plays in the West Country. Oh! Bristol's going all the way.
Good songs from the Bristol City crowd here. Loving that to the Colo Yaya Toure chant. Chance here for Ellen White. Good save from Bagley. You see what White was trying to do there. Didn't quite find the corner.
Yeah, that space opened up, to be fair. Good combination play and good movement from Ellen, you know, to stretch that back line and get on to the end of the pass. Unfortunately for her, not a great strike at the end of it, and good coverage by the goalkeeper. I think, you know, the tempo of the game is fairly slow right now, but what you do see from Manchester City is when they regain the ball in certain areas of the pitch, they do change tempo, and as we saw there, quick combination play, and they're causing problems for the Bristol backline.
Unsurprisingly, they are the noisy Bristol City supporters. Good foray of, good selection of badges on that man's hat there. Good stuff. Walsh to Jill Scott, and now Becky. It's another good delivery, another good bit of defensive play from Megan Sargent.
Details when they pinch and go, so when they regain in possession, you know, that transition moment for Bristol is going to be so important in this game. Can they retain the ball, but can they go forwards fairly quickly too to expose the little space that is going to be available to them before Manchester City get back defensively organised? Those things will disappoint Tanya, I'm sure, because, you know, those central areas of the pitch, they're setting up to protect those areas, and playing the ball from your left centre-back straight through, a 30-yard pass straight through the middle of Bristol is going to be a worrying sign for them.
We've reached the half-an-hour mark. Just the one goal so far for Manchester City. They certainly will want more, because come the end of the season, goals scored, goal difference may play a part, because it is so very tight at the top. Chelsea, the only unbeaten side in the Women's Super League so far. Becky once again in space. Villart. Now Walsh. Horton, away by Matthews. It's a good touch by Robinson, who's had precious little to deal with up front there on her own.
Good hold-up play in the first instance by the youngster, but needed to retain the ball then, unfortunately didn't give it away too easily.
Hemp's cross. That's well handled by Sophie Bagley, under pressure from Ellen White.
Well, an interesting stat to look at within half-time of this game is to see how, from a percentage of ball possession, how many times Manchester City are getting in wide areas in the top third, because it's so many times. And when you look at that, you kind of go, well, should it be more than 1-0? Yeah, probably, because they are getting into wide areas in crossing opportunities, but not getting success from those opportunities right now. As we mentioned earlier, you know, the fullbacks for Bristol are getting very narrow, so they're getting forward, protecting that central area for, you know, to deal with these delivery moments. But it is a case of, can Bristol stop the delivery in the first place out wide? As we said, their wingers are going to have a big role to play in that, but right now that space is massive for Manchester City to be able to use.
Yeah, they seem to be defending it fairly well when it comes into the box, but you're right, it's stopping it at source, isn't it? Becky's had a lot of joy down the right-hand side for Manchester City.
And it's the challenge, you know, you're coming up against very good players on the ball. You protect those central areas in your own half, but then you're going to expose the wide areas if you're playing with a 4 at times. And then it's how you deal with those situations. Obviously, what Manchester City will hope is as you try and deal with wide areas, you're going to expose the central space. So it's, you know, from a Bristol City perspective, it's looking at protecting your goal first and foremost, and whether that could be allow Man City to have the ball in wide areas and deal with making sure we get first contact on deliveries, which actually for high percentages of the time so far today they've done particularly well, apart from the moment when the goal occurred.
Steph Horton, ever present once again in the Women's Super League this season for Manchester City, has played pretty much every single minute in every competition, only been brought off once in the Champions League this season. And like Jill Scott, rarely misses a game. And we should mention Jill Scott's becoming the record holder in the Women's Super League for appearances with this game against Bristol City. Robinson turning into traffic.
Those transition moments are the key for me with regards to this Bristol team now trying to get success and get some shots on goal.
Humphrey again turns into a sea of Manchester City shirts, and that's good play from Jill Scott, but it's a throw into Bristol City. Daniels. Now Frankie Brown. Once again, the pass is loose.
Yeah, details need to be better. When they do get that limited opportunity right now of possessing the football, challenge is going to be for Bristol. Can they retain it better?
Lovely layoff from White. Stokes with an aimless ball. Matthews has time to pick the pass. It's an excellent ball. Charlie Wellings.
Good recovery defending there from Stokes, to be fair. Great touch from Wellings, but good defending too from Stokes to pinch the ball back.
There is chance, New Zealand international. Humphrey.
Lots of turnovers this last couple of minutes. Lots of turnovers in the game. Possession going both ways.
10 minutes to go until half-time. And Manchester City have got a touch sloppy. Wellings has kept that one in. The bounce favours Manchester City. Stokes can bring it away unopposed.
Patient build-up game from Manchester City right now. Obviously, they're 1 goal ahead, so don't need to go forwards quickly. They're going to wait for opportunities to open up. We're seeing the centre-backs, you know, having time on the ball to play and get their heads up and look for the best passing options right now. Here we see Steph sliding it through into central areas for Jill Scott and bouncing towards. And these are the danger times for me, for Bristol City. When you look at that, you know, at back-through moments from Manchester City, they'll expose space in behind. Right now, they've dealt with that very well. Jazz Matthews there covering, and obviously the goalkeeper Bagley coming out where she needs to.
Megan Sargent signed in the summer along with Charlie Wellings, making the switch from Birmingham to Bristol. The connection with Tanya Oxtoby, used to be a coach at Birmingham. They do play them in a couple of weeks' time. But it doesn't really get any easier for Bristol City. Their next game is against Arsenal at Boreham Wood.
Interesting trend. When Bristol are building up play right now, when they have an opportunity, they allow their centre-backs to drive forwards. And when that happens, interesting thing to watch. And it could expose them defensively on a transition. That's why I'm going with it. Matthews is driving forward on the left-hand side, and Humphreys was taking a position as a centre-back. But look at the space. There's space exposing in that midfield area right now. Obviously, this is a bit later in the build-up. But it's an interesting thing to keep track of, because if they do continue to do that, if Man City do pinch the ball back then, as Bristol are building, there's a massive amount of space in the middle areas of the park to use on a transition.
They've got a chant for us. Thankfully, it's fairly inoffensive so far.
I'm glad I don't play anymore, because the comments that used to come out for Leds as the player weren't particularly nice. I'm hoping it's nicer these days as a commentator.
At the moment, it's fairly PG, thankfully. It's really nice to hear this very positive chants for all the players, it seems, from a Bristol City perspective. Not the biggest club, are they, in the men's or women's game, but it's clearly a loyal following.
No, but you know, as a club, I think they should be proud of what they've achieved in the last 10 to 15 years in the women's game. I just do hope that they can keep pushing on. And when you think of the future and how bright it is with the women's game and the finances that are coming into the arena from different clubs, you know, top-level male clubs, then you just hope that they can compete going forward.
Becky's crossover hit this time. Into the second half at Lee Sports Village. Manchester United still leading Brighton by 2-0. We will see those goals at half-time, so do stay with us. And that's a pretty lengthy trip for those Manchester City fans.
Commitment.
Pretty much from one end of the country to the other.
Is it easier if your team generally win? I don't know, you know, I'm posing that question. To be fair, it's commitment either way.
I think it makes the trip feel a lot longer if you've lost on the way home. Still very much in this game, Bristol City.
I'm sure they'll be relatively pleased. You know, if this goes to half-time just 1-0, then they're still in with a shout.
Five minutes left of the first half.
I do have a feeling, though, that Manchester City are kind of in second or third gear right now. You know, the tempo of play that they've shown in previous games and the ability, the levels they have to get that ball up the park quickly. We're not really seeing very often. This might be a moment that shows it.
Becky once again. Stokes in a bit of space. Fulton to Becky.
Again, space in wide areas to use.
Becky, now Walsh. That's nice play. Becky's cross. Dangerous.
I'm wondering if she looks back at that, would it have been a better decision to maybe dink it up far post area or drive it, you know, that cut back? Let's have a look again. Let's use running in. Not far off for Ellen White, but would it have been better just to cut it back to her, maybe? A good build-up play in the first instance in the wide area. Bit of combination play.
Hawson spending most of the time in the Bristol City half. Here's Caroline Weir. Scott. Becky. Gets past Daniels. Corner kick. Good covering by Allen.
Yeah, good covering from that narrow fullback, Allen, as you said. But, you know, difficult game today for Daniels. Predominantly Manchester City are coming down this right-hand side. And, you know, she's an attacking player first and foremost, but she's having to defend, you know, for 90% of this game today.
And not particularly a wide one, generally.
Yeah, you can see, obviously, the 1v1 defending and that skill set is maybe not something that is at the top of her skill set right
calling
now.
By Bagley.
But it's something she's going to have to develop as the game goes on.
They can manage to get into half-time, just the goal deficit, Bristol City. They will be very pleased. But they do need to offer a little bit more. And as you say, Jane, it's just a little bit more composure on the ball when they have it.
Yeah, because instances, you know, there have been instances where they've managed to build into the opposition half, but then they're losing it. You know, we're talking about 3 or 4 passes, and then there's a transition moment. And it's you know, can they do better in those situations? Again, we're seeing this pattern where a centre-back's driving forwards, and we've got one of the centre-mids for Bristol dropping in to become a backline player.
The decision does go Manchester City's way.
Those moments are interesting for me from a coaching perspective, because you're very high on the pitch. You've got a kind of half-hearted high press going on, but you're still exposing space. And then you're having to chase
Now, there weren't too many complaints about that challenge earlier on there, but that looked slightly high for me from Bonner. Let's have a look.
She misjudged it, to be fair. I think her eyes were on the ball, weren't they? And she tried to bring it down, but did she end up having contact? Maybe. Sit on the fence with that one.
Well, in your day, no one would bat an eyelid, would they, Jade?
That's fine. That's actually like my first touch, to be fair. I think a lot of my teammates would say.
No.
Know what you're good at, but know your weaknesses. If you know your weaknesses, you can work on them.
It's nice play. Scott, first time to Becky. Wellings coming back, conceding the corner.
Again, we're seeing this right-hand side being a good attacking area for Manchester City today. You know, attack after attack is coming down this right-hand flank. But we're seeing there now Wellings, you know, having to drop very deep to defend it, but defends it particularly well.
Just 1 minute added on, which seems fair. It's been a pretty free-flowing game, actually, hasn't it? Not too many stoppages.
Yeah, and as we said, you know, about 5 minutes ago, if they can hold it to 1-0 half-time, then it's a positive scoreline right now for Bristol.
Chance has done well. No one in there, well held by Ellie Roebuck. That's the first thing she's really had to do. Good play by the New Zealand international. Just too late arriving in the penalty area.
Yeah, opportunity. You know, they're not going to get, double figures of opportunities today, I wouldn't imagine. So it is, can they make the most of those moments when they are in the box of Manchester City?
There we go, first half. A narrow lead for Manchester City, thanks to a really nice strike from Tessa Vullart. She's scored in each of her last 3 Manchester City games now, 3 in a week for the Belgium international. Had a couple of opportunities to extend their lead, Manchester City, but on the whole, Bristol City have defended well and are still very much in the game at half-time. Tanya Oxtoby generally will be pleased with the account her side have given of themselves. Perhaps need to offer a little bit more in possession, and in the final third in the second half. Still a bit more work for Manchester City to do to seal the win. Not quite as easy as last weekend against West Ham United. So at half-time at Stoke Gifford Stadium, it is Bristol City 0, Manchester City 1.
Marco, the gas man.
So 1-0 to Manchester City at half-time. It's a very vocal support for the home side, especially by that section of the crowd. So let's take you through the key incidents of that first half. And after over 20 minutes of play, Manchester City finally made the breakthrough from Tessa Villart.
Yeah, look, lots of space in this wide area and a great delivery into the box and great contact, first touch, you know, bringing it down and then, you know, getting a body shape right to just slot it past the goalkeeper. But good delivery and a great finish. And just what Manchester City deserved, you know, for the 45 minutes of play. They had so much possession in the opposition half, but they've been very patient, but they are creating opportunities too.
And another opportunity, Ellen White this time, inches away from making contact with this. A similar build-up, a similar chance, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's good, you know, kind of a third-man run from Ellen White there, getting on the end of that pass, good vision to be able to play it forwards to her, but unfortunately for Ellen White, not getting the contact on the ball that she would have liked.
And as you've been mentioning throughout the first half, Jane, it's the wide areas where City have had a lot of joy.
Yeah, look, you know, they're setting up with their back four, and lots of times their fullback is fairly narrow on the pitch. So, you know, it's a case of protecting the central areas as a priority. And at times they can't deal with the wide delivery, so they're not stopping the delivery happening, but they are winning first contact in the box, which is going to be very important for them now for the second 45 minutes. So even though, you know, Manchester City getting lots of opportunities to do these things, if they're defending like that within the 6-yard area, then, you know, they'll stop leaking goals and it'll be a positive for them. You know, from a possession point of view, it's great to have that big stat of how much possession you get in certain areas, but they're not managing to score goals from it. So from a Bristol point of view, it's a positive.
So it looks like that food van is doing a roaring trade before we head back for the second half. And we'll go through the other scores as well from the earlier games in the Women's Super League this afternoon. In the 3 o'clock kickoff, though, later on today, Reading travel to West Ham United ahead of that game. Let's find out a little bit more about the Royals midfielder, Jade Moore.
Wish me luck.
Help! Help! All right, let's get straight into it then. So, Jade, without being rude, you're one of the more experienced players at Reading now.
I don't know what you were going to say then.
How's that feel? Does it feel any added pressure?
No, I just think it comes with getting older. I think, you know, the longer that you've played the game for, the more that you've experienced the game, the more that people sort of rely on you and your experiences to sort of come to light. So I don't think I look at it with any more pressure. I just turn up, do my job, and if people need a bit of help them if I can.
What is a day in the life of Jade Moore like?
It depends. So if I've got a full off day, I'll either go play golf.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And if I get probably half a day the day before and then a full day, I'll probably go up home and go and see my niece and nephews and family and whatnot.
Let's talk about your teammates then, all right? You're in the changing room. Who are the jokers of that changing room?
Tash Harding.
You can kind of gauge that, can't you? Yeah.
Woo!
All right, dressing room DJs.
Grace.
Oh. Yeah,
Grace and Molly Bartrip tends to get on the decks.
Right. What sort of tunes I got?
Actually, really awful ones.
Oh, I really don't agree. Have you told them that?
Steps. No.
I'm so
shocked. I actually don't know what I expected, but I didn't expect cheesy pop. I'm like, how is this motivating? We've got Westlife on.
For a game?
Yeah, like how?
What was your initiation song?
I sang Stand By Me.
Okay.
Duet, Joe Potter and myself. She's like, who the hell? I got asked a question, when was the first time that you got noticed like being like a footballer? I was like, never. See what happened then?
That same reaction.
She went, who is that? Oh, it's the twins, it's the twins.
Wait, drive it in. Rose,
This was the worst experience I've ever been on. The adult had to drive.
Jade Moore, whose Reading side will be taking on West Ham United later on. That's a 3 o'clock kickoff at Rush Green. Half-time at Stoke Gifford Stadium. Manchester City leading by a goal to nil at Bristol City. The other 12:30 kickoff, Everton versus Tottenham. Let's get the latest with our commentator, Emma Jones.
Ball back in play. Away from Furness. Nice touch. Finds McGill in midfield. Now racing onto it is Turner on the left wing. Turner looking for the cross. Turner gets the cross in and it's touched in. The ball pulled in from Turner. Molly Pike knew exactly where it was coming. Really close range. She couldn't miss from there. Turner to Pike. Everton 1, Tottenham 0. Philby Long for Tottenham. Comes into Claire Moron, who gives it to her defence. George, oh, and this could be a real error that leads to an equaliser. Well, that came out of absolutely nothing in the end. It's Everton 1, Tottenham 1, and it will be Cagman again. It's low. It came off a Tottenham head on its way towards the Tottenham goal, and Becky Spencer did really well to push that away. It was spinning in dangerously. Corner now for Everton. Becky Spencer punches at it, but can't get to it. And Everton regain the lead.
And here are the Man United goals. 2-0 they lead Brighton Hove Albion. That was a 12 o'clock kickoff, so a latest score there. Another really good display from Leah Galton teeing up Lauren James. Those two have been very bright in the early stages of the season, the Women's Super League. So that was the first goal. And the second one scored by Leah Galton. Great wide play and a lovely finish past Megan Walsh in the Brighton goal. So that's us up to date so far in the Women's Super League. Don't forget you can watch all the highlights from every single game in the Women's Super League over this weekend. Tonight, 7 o'clock on BBC4 and a repeat on BBC One after Match of the Day 2 at 11:15. Let's head pitch side now. Laura Bassett is with Reshmin.
Hello there, thank you very much. Yeah, great atmosphere here, isn't there? Like, the Bristol fans are so in great voice, great music.
Yeah, it really is a good atmosphere. You know, Bristol are certainly putting on a show for their fans so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they're 1-0 down. You've got to say, I suppose it was coming from Manchester City. They deservedly ahead. Do you think perhaps the defending could have been a little bit better on that one?
Yeah, I think you know, the defending that they've showed so far, I think they'll be disappointed with the opportunity. Janine Becky had all the time in the world to put the cross in, and just the lack of marking was non-existent. You can't give such a player like Tessa Vullart that amount of time and space, because she will punish you like what happened. But like I said, Bristol are certainly after the week that they've had so far, they're putting more of an organised and resolute performance.
Yeah, and they have been holding Manchester City, haven't they? Or is it that the City perhaps haven't been finishing their chances very well?
I'd say a bit of both, to be honest. I think City, they're very good at grinding down the opponents. They keep the ball very well. The interchange of positions is so good. Jill Scott will start out on the right, then she's up front with Ellen White, and she's central. So, and just that rotation, they eventually grinds down the opposition, and then the opposition lose concentration. So, but I think Bristol, they know they're up against a tough team, and they know they need to concentrate wholeheartedly. And it's just in those moments, like we saw for that goal, that's when they switch off.
Absolutely. So, second half, what do they do differently?
Well, I'm really surprised. I don't know whether Ebony Salmon isn't 100% fit, so that may be why she hasn't started the game, because she was certainly against Reading last week. She was a big catalyst for them getting back into the game. So she's fast, she's tenacious, and she's definitely Bristol's biggest goal threat. So I'd love to see her being introduced. And when you have a player come like that onto the pitch, it just gives everyone else a big lift. So I think we will see her, and hopefully it will give the rest of the team a big lift.
OK, well, looking at Manchester City, I mean, they're out of the Champions League now. Chelsea aren't in the Champions League. Arsenal fighting on all fronts. it's going to be a really tight title race, isn't it? It's looking to be one of those this season.
Yeah, at the start of the season, I got asked for my predictions, and it was so tough. And
Where did you go?
I went Chelsea. I went Chelsea for
Me
the title.
too.
Yeah, but you know, it's certainly living up to the expectation. It's tight week in, week out, and neither team want to drop points. And like I say, it's living up to the expectation.
And that's really what it's all about, isn't it? Because no one can make a mistake, because you never know what's going to happen in the next one.
Yeah, that's right. And like you said, Manchester City, they are out of the Champions League, but sometimes you wouldn't, as a player, you don't want that. But sometimes when your focus is narrowed down, you know, that's what you concentrate on.
And what about Jill Scott then? She's making a bit of history today. 133 appearances, the only player to amass those kind of appearances in the WSL. And she's such a star, isn't she, for club and country, but as a person as well. How happy are you for her to have achieved that milestone?
Absolutely brilliant. You know, she 100% you know, deserves this. And I'm just so delighted for her. And I think she's got many more appearances. She's got another 133 appearances. She probably wouldn't say that, but I definitely believe in her wholeheartedly. But yeah, she deserves this accolade, and who knows, we might get a cheeky goal from her in the second half.
Yeah, it would be a nice way to top it off. What do we expect in the second half? Do you still think City win? Do you think they can hold out?
Yeah, like I say, because they grind down they're so good with the ball in possession, and you know that they will. The amount of
at this, aren't they?
They are, and the amount of crosses and chances from wide opportunities. And Ellen White, you just know she's not really been in the game, involved a lot in the first half, but you know, with such a predator like that she's going to stake her claim.
She could turn it on, couldn't she? Okay, that's it from us here. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Reshmin. And it looks like Bristol City are going to make a substitution. Ebony Salmon stripped and ready to go and doing a pretty vigorous warm-up. We'll have to see who has been withdrawn from Tanya Oxtoby's side. Elsewhere, Manchester United have put the game to bed well and truly against Brighton Hove Albion, and another goal for Leah Galton, Jane. So 3-0 to Manchester United.
Look, great move into the box. Good cross in the first instance, but good contact as well. And the player we're talking about, I think she's been one of the stars of the season so far. You know, many people wouldn't have heard about her before. And I think Casey's doing a great job at Manchester United. The style of play they have suits Galton. I think she's a great deliverer of the ball, but, you know, she can finish too.
Georgia Stanway, a watching brief this afternoon. And ahead of kick-off, let's just remind you of the goal that separates the two sides. Tessa Vullart, who has scored her third goal in 3 games.
Well, lots of time in wide area for Becky to pick out a pass. You know, we mentioned earlier about the good finish that it was from Wullart, but poor defending from Bristol. You know, it's an area they've done particularly well throughout the 45 minutes, apart from in this instance. You know, the central defenders have ended up ball watching, lost the runs of Manchester City, and given Wullart way too much time to pick out her area of the goal to finish.
So that is the only goal that has been scored this afternoon. Bristol City with lots of good defensive play, and while they're only 1 goal down, they'll hope that they can get something out of this. Still waiting for the 2 teams to emerge out here at Stoke Gifford. Great support from both sets of fans. And Bristol City trailing by 1-0 at the break. And just seeing all these snacks is making me very hungry, and that is not helping. That looks delicious on a cold day.
It's great not being a player anymore when it comes to food, to be fair.
It's dangerous visiting these football grounds, isn't it? The smell just draws you.
Yeah, one of my first memories of football, it was down in the Vetch, down in Swansea when they used to play at the Vetch, and the pasties. Oh my God, I'd go for that. Nothing else. It wasn't to do with the football when I was a youngster. I was going with my dad to have the pasty half time.
Sweets as well. So still all to play for, Jane. It looks like Ebony Salmon is going to come on. We'll try and get confirmation of who is going to come off for her. I wonder if it is the youngster, the 17-year-old Robinson, who, well, we could probably count on one hand how many touches she had in that first half, but she did her job. I'm sure not the game that she would have been the most enjoyable for her, but she did her job. Ebony Salmon waiting to come on.
Yeah, look, it's a tough role for the forward line of Bristol City today, but she was committed to it. You know, she was round the park. She was very, you know, energetic defensively at times. Having said that, you know, they're managing to play around that front line of Bristol too easily at times. So Yeah, could it be the youngsters replaced? It's a tough one if we're going on performance. You know, has she been moved out of the team because of performance? If it is her, then, you know, you could say she's done her job, but it's a tough one for them, to be fair, and Salmon's going to find out when she steps on the pitch now.
Well, if you do hear trains in the background, that is the Bristol Temple Meads to Bristol Parkway line. So, yeah, very close proximity to the actual ground. They do come along fairly frequently. You might be surprised given the state of our trains.
Well, with Salmon coming on the pitch, which it looks like she is, what we may see from Bristol City is a bit more of a counter-attack threat. So when they do pinch, they go forwards a little bit quicker. Having said that, we have no idea which position she's coming on right now. But, you know, there have been opportunities for Bristol in this first 45 minutes. They haven't got details right when they've got into that final third to create goal-scoring opportunities, but they are managing to play through Manchester City on occasions.
Here comes Nick Cushing, Manchester City manager. He's kept his team as is from the starting 11.
The challenge for these guys today, I think, from a Manchester City perspective, is the switch off that could happen, especially from a backline perspective. You know, they're having lots of the ball, but they have to make sure they switched on to transition so that they don't get caught out exposing space at times. And that's concentration more than anything now for the next 45 minutes for them.
Abby Harrison, crutches in tow. I'll be hoping her side can get back into this. Tessa Vullart with the goal. She's in excellent form for Manchester City in League and Cup. The last week, 3 goals in 3 games. And Man City will want more. They'll want to put the seal on this Women's Super League victory. Just the 1 defeat so far this season and only 1 goal conceded for Manchester City. They are a tough nut to crack. It's the 1-0 defeat to Arsenal a couple of weeks back.
Well, if they are going to get 3 points out of this, there's got to be potentially more than one player that has a phenomenal 45 minutes. But that can happen. You know, it's an environment that for these, in particular the younger players in the group, to shine. You know, have an opportunity, step on the pitch and compete. They are coming against some top-level opponents today, but work hard enough, then you never know.
It is Katie Robinson who has been withdrawn at the break. Her first ever WSL start at the age of 17, so it's a good experience under her belt, but I was going to say the more experienced Ebony Salmon she is, but she's only 18. Former Manchester United, she went on loan last season to Sheffield United, scored 7 in 9. She knows where the goal is. She scored a really good goal also against Reading in the last Women's Super League game, during which they came from 2-0 and 3-1 down to draw 3-all. So maybe a little bit more potency from Ebony Salmon into this second half, which is about to get underway, and Ebony Salmon is going to have her first touch as a substitute. Bristol City kick us off in the second half, only trailing by 1-0. A really neat finish by Tessa Vullart. They will be expecting to do more defending in this half. Eventually, they're going to have to throw a bit of caution to the wind.
Interesting choice from Bristol to go back from the kickoff, and they ended up going back all the way to the goalkeeper. Interesting choice, but you know, their mindset maybe, you know, let's retain, whether that's in our defensive third or midfield third, rather than let's go forward and score goals.
Scott immediately, Becky on the attack for Manchester City. Cuts it back towards Vullart, and the clearance from Brown was straight to a Manchester City player.
Well, it'd be interesting to see if they do lock up that, well, the left-hand side for Bristol. Obviously, it's the right-hand side for Manchester City that has been so successful in their attacks into the box right now. But we're looking, you know, a minute into the second half of the game, and we're seeing the same trend happening. So maybe an area that isn't concerning Bristol, because they are dealing with the contact situations in the box. But I am surprised that they don't try and lock that area up a little bit a little bit more than they have done so far.
White asking a lot of Villard there. You look tense, Jane.
Well, I'm surprised by the choice of pass on that, if I'm honest. But look where they've ended up. Or have they retained? Yes, they have retained. They put a little bit of pressure on their backline there, because I think the pass was played out to Allen, I believe, under pressure, and ended up having to go straight back to the goalkeeper. And she had a fairly decent contact on it. But unfortunately, they haven't been able to build from it. And we see Manchester City in possession again in around the middle third.
It's another pass out of the touchline, isn't it? They've done that so many times, Bristol City, and they cut those mistakes out and give themselves a much better chance. So they're not really being pressurised that much, are they, by Manchester City?
No, they are allowing them to play short, but in a way, Bristol City in possession today are their own worst enemies.
That's risky once again.
Yes, you know, a situation that we're talking about, the decisions that they're making in possession, they're just putting each other under pressure at times when they're more often than not another passing option to play.
Stokes, Villard, changing the point of attack. Horton under no pressure, allowed to come forward. Finds Villard. It's a good ball. Ellen White couldn't control.
Space opening up in central areas again for Man City. Unusual for Ellen White not to get on the end of a pass like that, but good goalkeeping to come out and deal with it.
Intelligent ball from Villard. Scott. Here's Kira Walsh. Manipulation of the ball from Walsh. Finds Weir. Villard, this is nice from Manchester City.
Slightly different organisation from Bristol right now, in more of a 4-5-1 setup rather than the two forward line. They've got their single forward as the counter-attack threat, and they've dropped Wellings in on the left-hand side. At times, predominantly she's in the midfield, but at times she's becoming the full-back to allow Allen to go narrow when she's needing to.
Good defending by Matthews, stepping in. And that's a very good pass. Ebony Salmon might have to do this alone. Draws the save from Ellie Roebuck. Excellent play from Salmon.
The kid did well there. You know, you think chance to get a shot on goal. She's done particularly well. She's got a 3v1 situation that ends up happening. So, you know, when you look at Bristol from a counter-attack threat, they do need somebody to either win set plays higher up the park for them, as we're going to see now, and hopefully they can have success from it, or get goal-scoring opportunities. But the kid is probably going to have to do it on a lonesome a lot of the time.
Chance from the corner kick for Bristol City. Humphrey once again. It's a deep delivery. Oh, and Matthews got there. What a chance that was.
Great opportunity. I believe it was Ellen White who's just lost Matthews on the run-up there. And, you know, we see from Manchester City the semi-zonal. They've got a couple of zones in there, 3 zones, but the others have the role of man mark. And I believe it was Ellen White who's just lost Matthews on the run in there. Manchester City lucky that Matthews didn't manage to get a better contact.
Well, that was a fantastic opportunity for Bristol City to get back into this. Humphrey has shown she's got good delivery from set pieces.
Yeah, and hopefully if they do get more opportunities, she can get that consistency and just develop as they're attacking the box in central areas. Can they get better contact? They're persisting with this, you know, a kind of fairly high press in the opposition half at times, Bristol. And there is space to use behind this back line, but as we're seeing now, are Man City going to make the most of that space? We'll see.
Walsh, Vallart. Vallart with the shot.
Oh, it's a poor organisation from Bristol then with regards to spaces that they're allowing to open up in central areas. A good movement from the City midfield to get on the ball, but you know, they're managing to play through those tight central areas again. We see Kira Walsh, you know, it's one of her strengths, picking out tight passes. And too much time, again, for players to turn and pick out the shooting opportunity on the edge of the box.
It's now 3-1 to Everton. Lucy Graham with the latest one against Spurs, so Everton have a bit of daylight. Cracking game down at Southport. Sargent plays it back to Bagley.
Can we start our own chant?
We can hear you loud and clear, if you want. Go.
I'm not sure which to start with, though.
We could make a chant for the people doing the chant, if you'd like.
Have a little think.
Some homework for you between now and full time. Here is Hemp. Scott.
So here we see Wellings, you know, a little bit deeper, kind of. It looks like a 5 at times now as a back line. And Wellings being given the job to deal with that left-hand side defensively. And right now, what are we, nearly 10 minutes into the second half, you could say she's doing a better job than what they did in the first 45.
Here is the header once again from Jasmine Matthews.
Oh, she'll look back at that and be frustrated, because that was one heck of an opportunity to get back in this game.
You're absolutely right. Ellen White did lose her, but actually she got back, and even though she didn't have eyes on Jasmine Matthews, I think she may have just got in her way enough.
Done just enough to put her off.
Harrison, there's only one Abby Harrison.
Not sitting comfortably just yet, is he?
Well, no, you know, you're not going to 1-0. Have they had opportunities to extend that scoreline? Yeah, a couple in the first half. But it has been a game where, you know, it's goal-scoring opportunity after goal-scoring opportunity for Manchester City. But I still feel that they're not really playing at their full potential. The tempo of their play is not as high as it would normally be in possession. Give credit to Bristol in that sense, you know, they're committing to their pressing. There's generally a red shirt when Manchester City are trying to play in the opposition half. There's generally a red shirt putting pressure on that person on the ball. But it is a bit of a chasing game right now, isn't it? We're watching Bristol defensively. They're committing to it, they're working hard. They are trying to protect those danger areas, but not many opportunities to pinch the ball back and attack.
And that's going to start wearing on the legs, isn't it? We've only played 10 minutes of the second half.
For me, it's this moment now. Can they hit that point player they put on the pitch? Can they hit Salmon? Yeah, they have. Great.
Good ball by Daniel. Salmon once again. Have to wait for some runners here. That's good play by Salmon. Heavy touch by Charlie Wellings. Salmon once again, trying to get round the back of Demi Stokes.
Unfortunately, she couldn't get a corner from that, because to be fair to her and Wellings, I think there was about a 7v2 going on there. You know, Manchester City have got bodies back very quickly defensively, and Stoke's doing a good job to just get the ball out to play here. It's going to be a tough one, but, you know, if the kid can keep her energy levels now for the next 35 minutes, I'm sure she'll get more than one more opportunity.
Well, Vullart, Bagley did just enough. She's made a good impact already, though, Ebony Salmon.
Yeah, you can see why they've made that change. It does give them more of a transitional threat. So when they do manage to regain, that there is a point person they can hit and try and get success out of.
Scott allowed to turn here. Here's Vullart. Slides it through towards White. Defended well. What a great clearance by Matthews. Here's Hemp. Another block. Bristol City clear it for now. Back in the possession of Manchester City. Walsh delivers straight into the gloves of Bagley.
Look, that last attack has come from just space opening up between the back line of Bristol and the midfield unit, because the midfield is still committing to that high press within the middle third. But as we've seen in that last moment of play, the back line are actually starting to drop a little bit quicker. So interesting to see if that becomes a trend now in the last chunk of this game, because we could see Manchester City players having far more success just in front of the back line of Bristol if those things happen.
Horton into Scott. Oh, it's a chance. Ellen White is offside. They're doing the 12 days of Christmas to the Bristol City players.
To be fair, I was going to join in, but everybody thinks Welsh people have fantastic singing voices, but I break that mould completely. If anybody's ever heard me sing the national anthem on the side of the pitch, I love it, but I am absolutely awful, so I don't think I will today.
Sophie Bagger-Lee. She's got a really good name for the final line of that song. We can't tempt you.
No, but I do love Christmas, to be fair. I'm a person who's already singing Christmas songs every time I get in the car.
Crunching challenge. Hemp comes away with it.
Tempo in possession. Come on, Manchester City, get this tempo up, because, you know, not that I'm obviously biased in any shape or form, but I do want to watch good football. And I think there's so much possession going on. Can they penetrate better? A little bit better. They can set play from it. But I think, you know, they have moments in the game. They've had moments in the game so far where they've changed the tempo, and they're the danger moments. You know, they're the opportunities that they're going to create goal-scoring opportunities from.
Jim Bonner had another slightly naughty challenge in the first half, and she's gone in there again. Again, you're shaking your head, Jane. Not for you.
Yeah.
Play on. Here comes the corner kick. Bonner's there, and the referee's pulled it back for a foul and a free kick to Bristol City. A couple of players down there. Megan Sargent.
If you're a player with a red shirt on right now, though, I would say you're going to be fairly happy. 60 minutes in, 1-0 only. 30 minutes left to play, and you are going to get at least one more opportunity to get in front of goal. If I was Manchester City, I'd be a little bit less happy, if I'm honest. I think, you know, when you look at goal-scoring opportunities they've had, they've been limited, especially in the second half.
Half an hour still to play. Weir's header. Stokes into Hemp. They could release an album, this lot, couldn't they?
Yeah. It's interesting listening to them right now because, you know, the football we're watching for the last few minutes has been, you know, I hold these guys in you know, a really high level. When you watch them play over many years now, this Manchester City squad in particular, I think it's a squad full of fantastic talent. I think the level that they can get to when they're at the top of their game is fab. Just not seeing it very often today. But we are seeing a very committed Bristol team who are organised. They're restricting Manchester City to opportunities. And if, like I said, I think they'll be the happier of both teams right now.
And considering the week they've had, obviously they had a good draw against Reading, having been 2 goals down on 2 occasions, drawing 3-3, but conceding 3 and then conceding 7 against Arsenal.
Yeah, mixed bag for them, isn't it? You know, you look at the 3-3 result, and if you're a coach, you're going, great, we've come back, you know, we're resilient, we've reacted, we've responded, there's character in the team, but then you also look at it and go, how we leaked 3 goals, so there's areas to tighten up on too. Obviously midweek would have been a disappointment, but I think the boss highlighted earlier that she's had to rotate, she's had a few injuries, and they don't have the biggest squad to be able to utilise either.
Becky allowed to get the cross in. Ellen White didn't get the connection.
Again, we're seeing deliveries coming into the box, but we're not seeing an end product from Manchester City. Good run down this right-hand side again. And what we saw there was Ellen White actually making first contact, but not in the way that she would have hoped to get that one-touch finish, being more effective.
Scored her first Women's Super League goal last weekend against West Ham United. That was a game that Manchester City found a lot easier than this one. Well, as it stands, Manchester City are going top of the Women's Super League table, but that possibly and probably will change before the afternoon is over. Arsenal up against Liverpool at 2 and Chelsea at Birmingham at 2:45. Very much a 3-horse race so far. But Everton there or thereabouts. Same points as Arsenal as it stands. They are leading Spurs by 3-1.
Listen, I wouldn't discount Man United to be picking up points now as they go through the rest of the season.
Here's Salmon. Oh, and Ellie Roebuck lost it for a moment there. Manages to grab it at the second attempt.
Oh, it's a pity she didn't realise earlier that that ball wasn't actually claimed. Is it just a bit of a moment where she switches off here? Yeah, not quite. To be fair, Roebuck does well to get back on it. Disappointing with the first claim, but does respond very well.
Valart. Good driving run. High and wide.
And you can see just Hemp on this far side, just holding her hands down, going, I'm an option. Don't think she said anything, but you could see a little bit of frustration there just because there was a pass option here. But to be fair, she's driving into the box. Harsh not to take that opportunity to strike.
I wonder if we're going to see the introduction of Georgia Stanway.
I did have a little giggle the other day when I saw the result, and then I saw that she was sent off, so it's a 5-0 game.
Ellen White, 2-0. She was never going to miss that one. The Bristol City defence parted ways and allowed Ellen White to have a free hit at goal, and that should put the seal on this for Manchester City.
National team centre forward don't miss. She doesn't miss opportunities like that. You know, one-on-one with the goalkeeper, lots of time to make a decision. Great through ball there. I believe it was from Kira Walsh, and poor defending from Bristol City. Goalkeeper not much chance here to do anything with this. Did she get a little bit lucky with that touch off her heel? Yes. But, you know, I wouldn't focus on that. I'd focus on the centre-back organisation from a Bristol City perspective. It needs to be better. But good finish from Ellen, just to slide it back past the goalkeeper. Going back on the Georgia Stanway bit, the reason I had a little giggle is because you can see the competitiveness in the young player. They're 5-0 up, or whatever the scoreline was when she had her second yellow, and she's still running around the park competing at that level, and that's what you want to see in players. Obviously, you don't want them to get carded and do anything silly, and hopefully she'll learn from it, but the competitive element is in there, and that's, you know, a sign of a good player.
Well, she certainly has that streak in her, Georgia Stanway, and I think the main takeaway from it was that they were 5-0 up, so on that occasion it didn't matter, but on another occasion, either for Manchester City or perhaps England, need to temper that
Yes,
a little
no,
bit.
it's a situation. Look, as a young player, she'll learn from it. I'm sure she will. She's got away with this one in a way because it hasn't impacted the game, but it could in the future, you're right.
Now from a Bristol City point of view, that is going to deflate them, isn't it? That second goal, because they were always in it. Ebony Salmon had a couple of half chances in the second half, but it's a long way back now from here. Manchester City will just look to add to their lead.
Well, now it's a case for Bristol, you know, if do they think they can get back in it, or are they going to get other things from the game? What can they work on within this next 25 minutes that could benefit them in the rest of this league campaign? You know, is it structural? Is it individuals doing certain things within the game to develop themselves? If they do manage to come back and get points from this, then they've done one heck of a job.
On the evidence so far, that's looking fairly unlikely, just in terms of the territory and the efforts on goal.
Yeah, you question right now, yeah, how are they going to do that? Can they pinch the ball back frequently enough? Can they get enough bodies forwards to create those opportunities? And it doesn't look very likely.
Vollart invites Stokes forward. First time cross.
You know, the trends are there to see from a Manchester City point of view. When they're attacking, they get their wingers, you know, fairly narrow, which allows their fullbacks to get a lot higher on the park and does create that overload centrally. But the areas that they're trying to play in at times are so tight because of the defensive organisation of Bristol. There's limited opportunities to make the most of those overloads at times.
Still, they play out from the back, Bristol City.
You know, it could be one of those when you look at the manager's looking at the squad and thinks, well, if we pump the ball up, are we going to win first contact anyway? So it's, you know, going to get shot down whichever thing you choose in a way. Are you going to retain the ball, whether you build or whether you go direct? And that's the decision, obviously. You have to trust the coaches to make the decision, and the right decision in that sense.
Daniel so nearly finding Ebony Salmon. Vital touch by Gemma Bonner. Steph Horton gives away the free kick.
Good pressing by Wellens there, good commitment to it, and obviously she's caught Horton not expecting that pressure to come so quickly.
See what they can do from this set piece. We've seen Carla Humphrey deliver some very good balls into the penalty area so far. Wellings as well.
Interesting tact, so to hover offside with Allen, just to try and get that defensive line to drop or just to cause some confusion. Second phase is here.
Wonder if Charlie Wellings has received some instructions from the bench. Let's see. It's Humphrey towards Sargent.
Oh, I think she took off too early. Megan Sargent. I think if she'd have delayed that by a split second, she'd have had a really good contact there. She just got up too early, and she's actually coming down as she contacts. Yeah, she's coming back down as she contacts. Oh, a split second later, I think that would, you know, obviously if she gets it on target, but oh, that was an opportunity for them.
Certainly was, and here comes one of yours.
Yes, Gemma Evans, who's a national team player with us, done particularly well over the last few years. She'll be disappointed not to have started this game, but hopefully she can have an impact, and a positive impact now for the last 20 minutes.
Flo Allen off, so defender for a defender. But that was another good opportunity from a set piece there, and just like the Jasmine Matthews opportunity earlier on.
It's those moments, isn't it? You know, the top teams, I guess, take those moments. And that's when, you know, they pick up points. Right now, it's not quite happening for Bristol.
I mentioned the goal difference at the top end of the table. I wonder if Bristol City will be aware of that too, because at the moment they have a worse goal difference than Birmingham and Liverpool, of course having played a game more. So that could be a factor come the end of the season
yeah,
as well.
Potentially, yes, it will be. I think, you know, it's going to be as tight down the bottom end as it will be at the top end, I think, come the end of the season.
Big game in a couple of weeks' time for Bristol at Birmingham. Arsenal up first, but these aren't the games that are going to keep them up. Bristol, obviously, it's a bonus if they can get anything from them. And they've played fairly well today. Matthews, the referee's played the advantage here. She's running to a bit of a cul-de-sac. She's done well again, Matthews. Gets the ball back from Jill Scott and delivers the cross towards Wellings, and Daniels was there too.
Oh, you wonder if there was any communication there, because if Wellings hadn't jumped, you might have found Daniels actually having time to take a touch, whether that's on the chest or the thigh, and actually bring it down. Again, an opportunity for them.
Great touch by Ellen White. Takes it in her stride. Weir.
We've seen Caroline Weir hit balls from these areas when she has opportunities. A bit surprised she passed then.
Ellen White wins the corner. Looks like we are going to see Georgia Stanway, but the substitution is going to be delayed until after this corner kick. Centre halves up from the back for Manchester City. Here it comes, Horton's there. Jasmine Matthews with 3 different touches to get the ball clear.
Matthews competing very well then with a few Manchester City bodies around her.
Horton. Sargent with the header away.
Another example of actually where Bristol have done kind of dominated those areas aerially, you know, in and around their box. High percentage of chances and deliveries coming in from Manchester City have been dealt with fairly well by the centre-backs in particular.
So Stanway coming on, and Tessa Villa, the scorer of the first goal, is off.
Job done.
She doesn't look thrilled with that decision, does she?
Look, if any player ever walks off a pitch happy, I'd be a little bit concerned if I'm their coach, to be honest. Players aren't made that way. If they are, then you'd be surprised if they're playing at the top level if they're happy to get off the pitch. Always an interesting one for coaches to deal with, those situations.
There's a line, isn't there? If you're storming off and throwing water bottles,
it
then
has
maybe...
to be respectful. Look, it has to be respectful, and you know, there are times where players kind of overstep the mark there. But you know, me as a coach, I never expect there to be a happy player when they're walking off the pitch, to be honest.
Here's Georgia Stanway. Evans clears, up to Ebony Salmon. Oh, that's a lovely touch by Salmon. Great awareness. Wellings tries to return the favour. They get a corner kick.
Yeah, I think Salmon's done particularly well since she's come on. You know, she's had an impact. It might not have been to the level that she would have wanted so far in a sense of opportunities with strikes on goal. But she's doing a good job in getting her team further up the pitch.
They've caused Manchester City a few problems from these situations. Matthews went close earlier on. She'll hope to get another opportunity from this corner kick. And Carla Humphrey has proved an excellent dead ball deliverer. Humphrey. It's a bit of a scrum in there. Bristol City maintain possession. Dykes. Manchester City clear.
Yeah, their deliveries at times have been very floated. deliveries from Bristol City, and it does give them opportunities to get a good run onto the ball and challenge. But as we saw in that last example, there's so many Manchester City players then having time to get in and around contact area. They're managing to win first contact.
Manchester City certainly haven't been at their very best this afternoon, but getting the job done.
It's a long season. It looks like they'll be taking 3 points back home with them, so that I'm sure they'll be pleased in that sense, but maybe some areas that they'll want to keep developing as the season goes on.
A couple of big games coming up for Manchester City. Next up, Liverpool at the Academy Stadium next weekend, one which you'll expect Manchester City to take all 3 points from, given Liverpool's current situation. But then after that, away to Chelsea. Here is Becky. That's another teasing ball.
Again, dominating down that right-hand side of the pitch. It's a productive area for Manchester City and not potentially a positive area for Bristol today in this game so far. The games you mentioned that are coming up, well, they're exciting games, aren't they? You know, it's those top 3 in the league right now. It's a case of they can't afford to drop points, and when they do come up against each other, it's in a way it's kind of winner takes all in many ways. So lots of pressure on those players, but surely opportunity for them to enjoy a top level game too.
Weir gets onto the loose ball, bit too much on that for Jill Scott. Hemp. Bristol City calmly defend that one. Looks like Bramer's ready to come on for Manchester City. Here is Georgia Stanway. Hospital pass that for Lauren Hemp.
Yeah, Stanway just getting up to the game pace, I think.
Ellen White coming off. She's had a few opportunities, hasn't she? And she scored the second goal, of course, but she could have had more.
Yeah, a couple of times, you know, she'll look back and reflect on it and go, she could have made some different decisions. But having said that, you know, there hasn't been an abundance of opportunities that she's made mistakes on. The one clear chance she had, she finished particularly well.
Bremer on, German international. Here is Becky. Stanway. Not far away.
Good combination down the right-hand side of the pitch again. This time Jill Scott ending up with a cut-back ball to Stanway on the edge of the box, who couldn't keep it down. But yeah, that right-hand side has been very productive for the Manchester City today, Manchester City team today. They'll look back and reflect and think actually they could have done better in certain instances with deliveries from that area, but it has been fairly productive, just not end product at times. It's interesting for me watching just to see the thought process of Bristol still wanting to build from the back. You know, we mentioned earlier, it's looking at the strengths of the team and the coach making the decision on, you know, can they retain the ball? Can they build against the likes of Manchester City? We haven't seen very much success in it. But if they were to play more direct, would it be a case of they'll get more success? You know, I wouldn't be the person to, I'm not making judgment on that, but it is, you know, the tactics they've gone with today is to try and build, but they haven't unfortunately had much success doing so.
Sargent. Lovely turn, Ebony Salmon. Salmon with the effort, draws an excellent save from Roebuck and lashed over the bar by Jana Daniels.
Do you know, that's probably the best phase of the game they've had. You know, we were just talking about the build-up play. They've managed to get the ball into the feet of Salmon, and she's been really impressive since she's come on. You know, first touch away from pressure, turns inside, and does very well there.
Roebuck had to be on her toes.
Yeah, the turn has already gone here, but then the momentum to drive forwards and get that shot on target and does cause the problem for Roebuck, but she manages to deal with it fairly well.
And Daniels on the follow-up. Bit of a wild effort, but she was under pressure. Ducks forward into the shoulder of Carla Humphrey. They have had their moments, haven't they, Bristol City overall?
Yeah, you know, there's 2 or 3 coming to mind where, you know, the mistimed headers, well, that last opportunity, you know, they have had opportunities, but it is the case of taking them when they arise, because you're not going to create 10 or 12. You know, those 3 or 4 you create, you've got to take at least one of them. And that's where, you know, going on in the season for them, I'm sure they'll create far more opportunities against maybe teams who are a bit lower in the league. But the question will be, can they take those opportunities and end up finishing games with the 3 and not the 1 point at times?
Dykes caught in possession. Here's Hemp. Stanway into Bramer. Turns and shoots, and it's 3-0. Great finish by Bramer. Didn't have much room to manoeuvre there. She's found the corner brilliantly.
Oh, poor defensive organisation decision-making here for Bristol. Look, build-up play, decent combination, good awareness from Stanway to see Bremer's feet, but the amount of time Bremer's had there to turn, you know, she's taken a touch, she's then manoeuvred her body very well. And did it actually go through the legs? Might have gone through the legs of Matthews.
I think actually it may have taken a nick off Matthews as well, so not helping Bagley.
Yeah, for Bagley, to be fair, on first look, it seemed like she just wasn't getting across the goal quick enough, but yeah, it did take a deflection. Good goal from Manchester City perspective, you know, lots of bodies in and around the area defensively for Bristol City, so they'll be disappointed with that one.
Flattering scoreline, would you say a touch? Although Manchester City have had a lot of the ball, and actually
I think they've been patient in their play today. That's the word that stands out for me. Manchester City, they haven't tried to force it. It's kind of the confidence that they know that the goals will come. Because they will, unlike Bristol right now, when those opportunities arise, they will take those opportunities when they come in the box.
Humphrey does well to turn away from Stanway. Finds Evans. So Kent Jill Scott sticks out one of those long legs of hers. Another substitution for Manchester City. Third and final one. Lauren Hemp coming off. It's the youngster Jess Park. Second substitution of the second sub appearance, I should say, for Manchester City, just 18 years old. Part of the development squad. Here's Dykes in behind. It's a poor final ball in the end.
Lauren Dykes is a legend.
Yeah, look, from a Bristol City perspective, I think it's, you know, a case to get this game done now, move on. Start focusing on the games coming up, in particular those games against mid-table teams that, as you mentioned earlier, they're the games that they'll be hoping to pick up points in and secure their position in the top league now next season.
Come on, Bristol!
Daniels nods on.
Come on, Bristol! Come on, Bristol!
Horton. Great pass. Here is Becky.
Again, we're seeing Becky with lots of time on the right-hand side to pick out.
Oh, Caroline Weir. Another long-range special from Weir. We've seen that so many times from the Scotland international. And she's got Manchester City's fourth.
I'm surprised it's taken her this long to take these opportunities, because it's opened up a few times for her, and she's so good in these situations. You know, this time picking to drive through the ball with this very accurate left foot. Good finish, great finish. And, you know, in the build-up to that, we saw Becky again having lots of time and space on this right-hand side and picking out her pass.
Well, she scored a rocket on the first day of the season against Manchester United. That one wasn't quite as spectacular, but another one for the scrapbook for Caroline Weir. And as we head into the closing stages, another comfortable win for Manchester City. It's time to name our player of the match, Jane Ludlow.
Yeah, and for me today it's Janine Becky. I think, you know, we're looking at a player that has so much of the ball today, and she's been very effective in most situations. You know, she has been given space and time, but we're talking about a player who generally plays high up the park, who's playing as a fullback now. And you could question, well, has she had much defending to do today? No. But, you know, it is a new role for her, and I think she's adapting particularly well to it. And I think, you know, the success they had going down that right-hand side was a lot to do with her decision-making and her technical ability in those situations.
It looks like Nick Cushing has settled on a new role for Janine Becky. I think, as we mentioned last week against West Ham United, she hasn't had a lot of defending to do, so it will be interesting to see if she does maintain her place in that position against the likes of Chelsea in a couple of weeks' time. So we'll see how she is defensively.
Yeah, you know, the Bristol haven't challenged her in that respect today, but I'm sure now if she is going to stay in that position with the games that they have coming up, she will be far more challenged. I'm sure if it is a situation they're looking to keep her there in the longer term, then I'm sure they'll be working on it in training environments to ensure that she can do and cope with those situations just as well as she has done in the attacking areas. It didn't look like being a 4-0 game at half-time, to be fair. I think, you know, top-level teams take opportunities, and when they have had those opportunities second half, more often than not, Manchester City have taken them and ended up with good decision-making and good finishes within and around the box.
Well, they scored 5 against West Ham United last weekend, 4 in midweek in the Continental Cup against Everton, another 4 today. They're certainly in goal-scoring form. Manchester City, something that was highlighted as a potential problem for them, especially with Ellen White missing at the beginning of the season. But 4 different goal scorers today, that'll be very pleasing for Nick Cushing in particular. When you don't have to just rely on your forward players.
Oh, the thing that always impresses me from Manchester City is the movement off the ball and the passing lines and passing options they create for each other. And I think, you know, at times they've been evident again today. I don't think the tempo has been in the game as much as they could bring when they need to. There's been glimpses of it, but they've done enough. You know, we're looking at a 4-0 scoreline, so they've done more than enough.
2 minutes of time added on. Has finished between Everton and Spurs, and it's a win for Willie Kirk's side, 3-1. Really good win.
Good season for them so far.
Excellent.
Willie's got them playing, you know, he's brought in some different players in the summer and he's got them organised, I'm sure, and getting good results. On the flip side of that, you know, from a Tottenham perspective, they've had an indifferent season in a way. They've had some really good results and spells within games, and then obviously I haven't seen the game today, but I'll watch it later just to see how it panned out for them. They are creating opportunities against opponents they play against, but for them, obviously, it'll be key to pick up points as well now going through the season.
Bremer, flag stays down. And it's 5 again for the second weekend running. Manchester City hit 5, and Paulina Bremer has her second of the afternoon.
And I hope I'm wrong, but I think the flag stayed down because Gemma Evans, one of my senior national team players, kept it on side. So it'll be interesting to watch back here. But it looks like the back line of Bristol have stepped up, but not all together, unfortunately. And Bremer has been aware of that space, you know, made a good movement in behind, and midfielder has seen that opportunity to play that straight pass through. And good finish again, you know, corner of the net. Hard for the goalkeeper to deal with.
Don't think Bagley had much chance with any of those 5 goals.
No, because, you know, the ones that did arise, they come in straight through the centre to her, aren't they? Unopposed, you know, she's in a 1v1 situation right in the middle of the goal. They're difficult for the goalkeeper to deal with.
And still they come. Becky sends it over the bar.
You'd question at times, could she be a little bit higher to come in effect earlier? But I wouldn't judge her on that, to be honest, in a sense. The situation that has arisen in front of her from a backline perspective, I'd be more focused on correcting those areas for me, because that last goal in particular was way too easy from a Manchester City perspective.
Well, the Bristol City fans are still cheering. That is the final whistle, and another comprehensive win for Manchester City. It didn't look like it at times, especially in that first half. Only a goal to the good at the break, and eventually they just took the game away from Bristol City. Tessa Villard got the scoring going. 2 from Bremer, 1 from White, and another from Caroline Weir. Another chasing afternoon for Bristol City. Tanya Oxtoby probably went from being fairly satisfied to pretty disappointed in the end, Jane.
Yeah, look, 1-0 half-time, I'm sure she would have been very pleased. And they did create a couple of opportunities, but as we mentioned earlier, unfortunately, they didn't take those opportunities. So parts of the game, I'm sure she'll be fairly pleased with, but lots that she needs to tighten up now with this group going forwards to ensure they pick up points against those in the table that are nearer to them. So maybe not the likes of your Arsenals, Chelseas and Man Cities, but definitely the teams below those.
So Tanya Oxtoby is once again going to have to pick her players up from another big defeat. Second one in a row for them. 7 against Arsenal in the Continental Cup. They've shipped 5 today, and they have Arsenal next weekend in the Women's Super League. Tough run for them. As for Manchester City, they march on, they keep the pressure up, and they keep it on. The top 2, Arsenal have kicked off against Liverpool, and later on Chelsea at Birmingham. There is just no room at all for a little dip in form between these 3 players, and I wonder if that's what he's saying, that even though they won 4-0, there were still aspects of that game that perhaps he wasn't too happy with, Nick Cushing.
Yeah, he's very animated there, which, you know, great to see in a way, because he wants more from them. I don't disagree. I think there's been times in the game today that, not necessarily sloppy, but the tempo was slower than you'd expect. And I think once they do raise that tempo, then they're hard for anybody to deal with. And look, great result. Great result for them. Lots of goals again and 3 points. They'll be very happy.
And so, full-time at Stoke Gifford, a comprehensive win for Manchester City. Bristol City 0, Manchester City 5. And so that's just about it from us this afternoon on the day that Manchester City hit 5 for the second weekend in a row. Don't forget, you can watch all the highlights from all the games today on the Women's Football Show tonight, 7 o'clock on BBC4, and a repeat on BBC One at 11:15. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. We hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.